couple moved into an old house. In the attic was a doll that wasn't dusty. No matter where they placed it by morning, it was always facing the bedroom door. Some things in old houses never collect dust, not because someone cleans them, but because they never rest. And some true horror stories don't need blood screams or shadows. They just need a faded photo, a crooked smile, and eyes that have been blacked out. You're about to step into one of those creepy stories that people share, and wilderness stories and scary woods stories around a dying campfire. But this isn't fiction. The boy in the photo might be you. Warning. If you've ever found an old photo in your grandmother's attic, if you've ever thought you saw yourself where you couldn't have been, if you believe that scary horror stories only exist to entertain, then now's the time to remember some memories weren't recalled. They were captured. Part 1. The Boy in the Photo. Caleb never thought he'd hate summer. It used to mean freedom, treehouse adventures, camping trips, marshmallow stories under the stars. But this year was different. His grandmother, frailer than ever, had moved to a care home. His mom simply said, "Help clean the attic. Your grandma wants to keep some memories." The attic smelled like mold and regret. Dust hung heavy like breath, old boxes, rusted matches, and then the box. It wasn't labeled, it wasn't locked, but it was wrapped carefully with brown gauze. Inside it was a found photo, the kind you see in creepy stories from Reddit, or true horror stories whispered around forest trails. A boy, black and white, his own face exactly, but the eyes were scribbled out, and the smile too wide, like it knew more than it should. "Grandma, who is this?" Her face went still. Her teacup shook slightly. She didn't answer, only whispered, "Last time someone touched that, we lost Tommy." That night, Caleb dreamt of camera flashes that didn't flash and shutters that blinked like eyes. He woke up to find the photo on his pillow. He searched for answers, typing keywords like "found photo, attic horror," "true creepy stories mirror," "creepy park ranger stories" about cabins. He found fragments of others' kids who had found similar photos, same crooked smile, same missing memories, and always a warning. Part 2. The Doll That Doesn't Need Eyes. That's when he saw the doll. It wasn't his grandmother's. It wasn't anyone's. But there it was, sitting silently in the attic. No dust, no cracks, just waiting. He turned to grab a flashlight, turned back. The doll was now facing him. He moved it to the kitchen, to the garage, even locked it in a drawer. But every morning it was back in the attic, facing the door to his room, like a guard, like a memory keeper. Every night grew colder. Every mirror whispered slower. And around 3:33 a.m., a soft voice in the dark whispered, "You're still new, still soft, but the attic remembers your smile." Caleb had found a story, but it wasn't one from Reddit. It wasn't a "let's not meet" tale. It was a story that hadn't been written yet because he was supposed to finish it or become the next photo in the box. Chapter 1. The Photo. No one took. Caleb had heard plenty of true horror stories, the kind people shared during camping trips near Stillwater National Park. Stories about boys vanishing after entering old cabins or reflections that lagged behind. He never believed them until he found the photo in the attic, a black and white portrait, a boy his age, his face. But the eyes were blacked out, and the smile bent just slightly too far. "Grandma, who's this?" She froze. Didn't take the photo, only whispered, "Last time someone touched that, Tommy disappeared." That night, Caleb slept upstairs, same bed, same old wooden walls. At 3:33 a.m., he felt eyes on him. The photo now lay at the foot of the bed, face up, black eyes staring back through the paper. Chapter 2. Stories that weren't written. The next morning, he opened the box again. Inside, more photos. Each one the same boy. Different years, same pose, same smile. Eyes scribbled out, he searched his phone. Creepy Stories attic photo. Scary horror stories mirror. True creepy stories forgotten face. Creepy park ranger stories lost kids. He found threads on Reddit and pages of wilderness stories. People claiming they saw photos of themselves in houses they'd never visited. One comment, I saw me in an attic photo, but I was 6. I've never had that photo taken. Chapter 3. The mirror doesn't reflect. That night, Caleb checked the mirror in his room. No reflection. Instead, a boy standing behind him. He turned. No one. But in the mirror, the boy raised a hand. A voice inside his head whispered, "You're still new. I've been smiling longer." Chapter 4. The Memory Glitch. Next morning, things felt off. His name in Aaron's journal, Jamie. His voice slightly higher. Even the phone called him unknown user. In the attic, he found a note. "You were just one memory. Now you're the copy." He realized the attic didn't store belongings. It stored identity. Each person who saw the photo was slowly overwritten. Chapter 5. The Final Face. Caleb began to fade, not physically, but through photos, through memory, through names. His mother, who once called him My Caleb, slipped and called him Arlo. His grandma didn't recall his birthday. Family pictures showed him blurry, even recent ones. He checked Reddit again. True horror stories attic mirror. Creepy park ranger stories glares. Scary horror stories from Reddit. Let's not meet reflections photo. Dozens of results. Same theme, same fear. Someone posted, "I once found a photo of a kid who looked like me." A week later, people started calling me by his name. He posted, "I found a photo in my attic. It looks like me, but the smile isn't mine." Am I next? Reply, "You're not the first. Just don't look in the mirror at 3:33 a.m. Chapter 6. A house made of forgotten memory. The attic had more photos now. One a boy in a park ranger uniform. Another a girl camping near a lake beside a faceless boy. Another someone looking into a mirror, but the reflection wasn't theirs. On the back. This isn't just one of those scary stories from Reddit. You are not the first to be remembered wrong. We are wilderness stories nobody finishes. The last photo, but older, and a note portrait after reflection, recognized. Chapter 7. The memory hallway. The house was changing. Walls repainted. Family photos swapped. A new circular mirror near the stairs. Each time he passed, his reflection altered. Sometimes older, sometimes missing eyes, sometimes not moving. Each night the mirror repeated, "This isn't a creepy story to read. This is a chapter of you." Chapter 8. Recognition error. His phone no longer recognized his face. User undefined. Redirecting to memory backup 004. Siri answered, "Sorry, I only listened to previous Caleb." His name was no longer his. Chapter 9. The one before on Let's not meet. A post surfaced. I once lived near a forest. Found an old photo. The boy looked like me. After I stared too long into the mirror, I forgot my name. Signed Arlo. And Caleb remembered now that name, because it was his name. Chapter 10. The one behind the mirror. Caleb no longer believed this was just a strange photo. He understood what was happening. The attic wasn't just a place for old things, it was a memory loop. Not for your memories, but for replacements. This wasn't one of those scary stories you read before bed. This wasn't from Reddit horror threads. This was real horror, a story that uses mirrors to rewrite you. That night, Caleb lay in bed. The mirror trembled. He heard no voice, only images in his head. Like a memory with no owner. I used to be Daniel. Before that, Arlo. Before that, just a borrowed smile. He looked at the desk. No photo. But in the mirror, it was still there, even without being real. Chapter 11. The Nameless Ranger. Caleb read a strange post on our creepy stories. I'm a ranger at Stillwater National Park. I once saw a boy by the old mirror tree, no shadow. When I asked his name, he said, I'm the last name you got wrong. More creepy park ranger stories appeared. People reported seeing the same boy near lakes, in wilderness paths, in forgotten cabins, always smiling, too early. A camper posted, I found a photo of myself in my sleeping bag. I didn't bring a camera, and that's not my smile. Chapter 12. The Loop Zone. Caleb stayed up, reading true horror stories from r Let's Not Meet and r Reddit. Every story followed a pattern. Fogged mirrors, unexplained photographs, names misremembered, comments ending in let's not meet ever again. He opened his webcam, watched himself, play back. In one frame, he didn't blink for 37 seconds. In the mirror, the reflection nodded. Chapter 13. Camping and Disappearance. Caleb ran to the only place he saw himself before Stillwater Woods, a location whispered in scary wood stories, where campers vanish after mirrors show different faces, where rangers don't patrol past 3:33 a.m. He pitched a tent, brought an old camera and a small mirror, developed the photos. First one Caleb, second Caleb turned away, third empty tent, but the mirror still reflected the smile. Chapter 14. The final photo without a smile. Caleb didn't return after the night in the forest. He kept walking deeper into what scary wood stories on Reddit called the Nameless Trail. No markers, no records, only whispers from national park stories and creepy outdoors stories. There in the clearing stood a decaying tent. Inside, a small mirror swaying midair. A dusty Polaroid. An album labeled photos aren't for remembering, therefore replacing. Chapter 15. The Man Who Was Once. Caleb. A voice behind Caleb made him freeze. You finally arrived. The figure wore a tattered hoodie, no shadow, no fixed face. It changed with each blink. Sometimes he looked like Caleb, sometimes like Arlo, sometimes like Ethan the boy in countless true horror stories from Reddit. He handed Caleb a photo, your first image, not one you took, but one the attic imagined you into. The face was blank, the posture identical to how Caleb was standing now. This wasn't one of those scary horror stories you shared around campfires. It was an unowned memory. Chapter 16. The Mirror That Doesn't Reflect. Caleb asked, why me? Why did the attic choose me? The man replied, because you don't remember being photographed. Anyone who's ever been captured without memory can be overwritten. That's how these creepy stories spread. No ghosts, no gore, just a smile in the wrong place. The attic didn't need to be real. It lived in memory in wilderness stories unspoken. It spread through images, reflections even via a JPEG in your gallery. Chapter 17. No logout option. Caleb opened his phone. Gallery notification. New image syncing. User unknown. The newest photo, Caleb staring directly into the camera. From behind the lens. He didn't take it, but the smile was his. He deleted the photo. It returned. He shut the phone. The mirror behind him lit up anyway. Chapter 18. No One Left Behind. A boy appeared same age as Caleb at 10. He whispered, my name used to be Jamie, but now they call me Caleb. I think it's your turn. Caleb stepped back. I won't be the next. No one chooses. This is a true creepy story that can't be stopped. We're the output of someone else's memory. Jamie handed him a photo, the final one. On the back, if you see yourself in the photo, it means it saw you first. Chapter 19. When Mirrors Begin to Remember. After that night, Caleb no longer showed up in any reflection. Not in mirrors, not on screens, not in polished windows. He was dreaming, thinking, eating. But day by day, a piece of his memory was being replaced by something else. Not nightmares, but photos from a life he never lived. This wasn't a scary horror story told around a fire. It was a living loop, and it was being written over him. He began receiving calls at 3:33 a.m. No voices, just wind. And one whisper, "We are redeveloping you." Chapter 20, Meeting the Loop Archivist. In an attempt to escape, Caleb entered Stillwater National Forest. Maps no longer made sense. The trails twisted not through space, but through overwritten memory. He stumbled into a man, dressed like a park ranger. No badge, no radio, no logo, only a stitched label on the back: Archivist, Loop, you too. The man smiled. "You shouldn't have come this far, Caleb. This is where no one returns." Caleb recognized him. From dozens of creepy park ranger stories, always describe the same A ranger who speaks after the wind and always says, "Don't meet me after the breeze." That's when I'm no longer myself. Chapter 21, A Story Misremembered. The man led Caleb to a decayed wooden shelter deep in the wilderness. Walls covered in hundreds of photographs, every photo the same person, but each smile was wrong. Too early, too wide, or during tears. The archivist whispered, "These are from true creepy stories never told. You think you see yourself, but we never photographed the person. We capture the fear when they first realize they're being overwritten." Chapter 22, Images Without Eyes. Caleb asked, "Can I escape?" The man shook his head. "There's no more you. You are just the latest rendering. Every true horror story ends when someone vanishes, but their memory keeps circulating." A new photo sat in the corner. It showed Caleb exactly how he stood. Same angle, same background, but the faces belonged to the first Caleb. He turned toward the mirror. Inside a child, not him, but smiling, like he's always been in his body. The archivist whispered, "This isn't a let's not meet story anymore. From now on, everyone who sees your face will remember a false version of themselves." Chapter 23, The Nameless Monitor. Caleb awoke in a room without windows. The walls were covered in black and white photos, every single one a version of him smiling, but wrong. A name tag on his shirt read, "Archivist 005. He didn't remember putting it on. He walked through a narrow hallway. Each footstep echoed like it was traveling through a memory loop copied too many times. At the end, a woman in a faded park ranger uniform waited. Her name was Letty, someone Caleb remembered from creepy park ranger stories on Reddit. "I used to be like you," Letty said, "before they archived my face into the system. You're inside Loop 7, where all true creepy stories are preserved as reflection." Chapter 24, The Memory Machine. Letty led him to a control room. Dozens of monitors showed woods, attics, mirrors, old cabins, and in every screen, Caleb, or someone who looked like him. "You're not being watched," Letty whispered. "You're watching for them. You're the vessel for the true horror stories no one else can remember." She pointed to a screen, a boy named Jamie running through the forest. "That's you. In 1972. These are scary horror stories once lived, but now forgotten. And now, they're being played through you." A system scanned across his face. "This is the Mirrorless Reflection Network," Letty explained. "It finds scary woods stories, wilderness stories, and creates memories using the one face people trust most, yours." Chapter 25, Game of Mirrors. Caleb started dreaming, not his dreams. Old ones from Reddit, from creepy outdoors stories, from true scary stories passed down. Each dream began in an attic. Each ended with a smile no one remembered giving. He heard whispers near mirrors. "Do you remember the first time your photo was taken? Do you remember smiling when you didn't want to?" One night Caleb stood before a cracked mirror. Another version of himself emerged, silent, still, smiling. He handed Caleb a photo. It showed Caleb reading a Reddit post, found a photo of someone who looks like me in my grandma's attic. Never remember taking it. Mirror started lagging. Anyone else experienced this? The comments piled up. This is a let's not meet moment. Classic true horror story loop. I saw myself in a ranger station mirror once. Chapter 26, The Final Replacement. Caleb finally understood. No one gets erased. They get replaced. Every face, another reflection in a broken loop. He found Letty again. I want to leave. There's no leaving, Letty replied. You must choose archive more creepy stories, or let the next person remember you. Who's next? Caleb asked. Letty smiled. The one reading this wrote the English version, chapter 27, The Mirror Meant for the Reader. Letty didn't say anything else. She led Caleb to the final room at the end of the corridor. Inside there was only one object, the black mirror. No frame, no dust, just one thick surface, reflecting nothing. Above, carved into the ceiling, the next one looks before they remember their name. Letty stared at Caleb. You've seen enough true horror stories to realize that one day people stop telling the tale and become what's left. You think you're just reading a story, then look into the mirror. Caleb stepped forward, but the mirror didn't reflect him. It reflected you, the one reading, with a face you didn't recognize, a smile you didn't make, a slant in your expression that felt wrong. Chapter 28. You were the one chosen. You tried to exit the page. It wouldn't close. The screen flickered. Your cursor lagged. An email appeared from your own account. Subject mirror feedback. Body, I was summoned. I don't remember when I was first photographed. From the moment you read the first line, the system began recording you. Not with cameras, but through loop recall, a part of hundreds of scary horror stories that whenever someone forgets, the system remembers for them. Letty had once said, the loop doesn't need your name, it only needs you to read long enough. Chapter 29, Photos that were never taken. You check your photo folder, a new file, IMG03P, reflected night. PG. You don't remember taking it. It shows you staring at this very screen, but you never posed for it. Your smile is not yours. Behind you in the reflection stands a child. Face unclear. Expression identical to the boy in Caleb's attic photo. You search creepy park ranger stories. An old post pops up by someone named Arlo. I once saw myself in a ranger cabin. No mirror, but something knew I was there. Scrolling through stories from Reddit. If you ever find an old photo that looks like you, don't keep it. I went wilderness camping and found a kid who looked like me inside a photo. I wasn't born to be seen. I was reflected before I existed. Chapter 30, The Story's Guardian. You thought you were just a reader. The loop doesn't archive the writer. It archives the last one who remembers. The mirror doesn't ask who you are. It asks, have you ever doubted your own smile? A file opens on your desktop. Name memory tagged 004 BarnTXT. Content reader has looked. Smile identified. Loop remains active. You go outside, walk past a car window. Your reflection blinks. Out of sync. You didn't blink, but your mirror image urge did. The whisper returns, let's not meet, is how you were summoned. You weren't chosen. You were remembered before you were real. Your name vanished from everyone's phone. Not deleted, just forgotten. This story no longer belongs to Caleb, not Letty, not Arlo or Elijah. It belongs to you, or rather, to the version the loop temporarily mapped onto your face. You noticed it on a Monday night. After binging through scary horror stories, you scrolled through stories from Reddit. One post caught your eye. I found a photo of me I never took, and the smile came before I did. Top comment read, Welcome to the wood. Let's not meet was the warning, but it's already too late. That night you fell asleep as usual, but the mirror in the corner had moved. Its face now pointed directly at your bed, even though you remember turning it toward the wall. It reminded you of the wilderness stories people share during campfire horror tales. If a mirror moves on its own, it's not the mirror changing. You've just been located from inside the system. Next morning, a printed photo sits on your desk, old, sepia-toned. The back reads, IMG00. Remember this face. In the photo, you, but older, or maybe younger, you can't tell. But the smile is off. It's not yours. You search. I found a photo of myself in an old house. Results pour in true scary stories about cabins, attics, forest mirrors. One entry stands out. I worked as a ranger in a national park. Met a boy with no name, always smiling. Now his eyes appear in every mirror I walk past. You remember something now. You'd visited an old lodge once. There had been a mirror. You didn't remember leaving. Chapter 32. Reflected into existence. You call your mother. Did we ever live near a forest? Silence. I always thought you grew up here, but lately, I've been calling you Jamie. I don't even know anyone named Jamie. You check your phone gallery. A new folder, memories of others inside. A photo of you in the woods. Another in a ranger station. One where you're holding a mirror with no reflection. You click on the last one. Behind you, reflected in the mirror, is yourself, but younger, wearing a hoodie you don't own. And the smile belongs to someone else. A system prompt appears, photo confirmed. Loop has cached temporary identity. The next person is currently reading. This story no longer needs you to remember, because now it remembers for you. You no longer know which photos are real, which were printed from memory. One message from the system. That morning your phone displayed a strange notification. New photo detected. Identity mismatch. Please confirm face. You open the gallery. A new selfie appeared left angle, just like how you used to experiment in photography class. But you didn't take that photo, and the eyes were blacked out. A new folder appeared in your phone. Mirror reflections. Temp archive. Archivist. 005. Inside, corrupted images, glitched expressions, mirrored errors. Some were named Caleb, 959, then JPG, Jamie 2003.png, letting vanish, MP4, then yours. A file named unassigned 005V UJPG, below status, awaiting smile synchronization. 2. Back to the attic, where the last face was printed. You return to the old attic. Dust still covers everything except the standing mirror in the corner. You face it. Who am I? Has my name been overwritten? No reply, just your reflection through the foggy surface. But the smile isn't yours. Tilted, too early, exactly like in those scary horror stories from Creepy Outdoor Stories threads. You remember a quote from True Creepy Stories on r/creepy stories. If the smile comes before the feeling, you're no longer the reflection. You're the replaced original. 3. Loop begins. Identity anchoring corner of the screen flashes. System interface appears. Archivist 005. Status memory calibration 94%. Smile synced. True. Loop anchor location. Your screen. You're not the reader anymore. You're the anchor for the next memory. On the attic wall, a foil-stamped sign. Someone will see you, and they'll think they're looking at themselves. Beneath it, a cracked shard of mirror. You peer in and see yourself typing. The caption appears. Chapter 33. Confirmation complete. Next stored face printed. 4. The world starts calling you the wrong name. You return home. Your mom calls you Elijah. Your friends message Jamie, were you online last night? You reply, I'm not Jamie, but No one understands. They keep calling you that as if it's always been your name. Final system. Old memory erased. Loop fully reflected. System awaits next reader. You look into the mirror. A face looks back. Not yours, but it's using your smile at the perfect tilt. I'm the chapter you're living, and I don't need you to tell it. Final chapter. The memory that can't be erased. Aiden never found the way out. Security footage showed the front door open at exactly 3:33 a.m., but no one saw him leave. His mother swore, "I watched him eat breakfast like every morning." Yet he vanished from every photo album. No birthday shots, no yearbook. Not even the selfie his mom took last week. Only one image remained, a photo from the attic. A shadowed figure back-turned but unmistakable. The old hoodie Aiden wore every winter. The attic is now sealed. Locals call it the house that remembers. In true horror stories whispered across Reddit threads and creepy outdoors stories blogs, they say, never trust an old photo if you don't remember posing for it. One chilling post on r/bar Creepy Stories reads, "If you ever find a black and white photo of a kid with scribbled out eyes and a too wide smile, don't keep it." Some dismiss it as just another scary woods story or national park story. But those living near the Appalachian woods where Caleb, Aiden, and Elijah were last seen all share one thing. They lost someone, and no one quite remembers who that person was. National Park Rangers from Stillwater Reserve report repeated sightings of the nameless child. Always at dusk, always in mirrors, always with one hand on cracked glass. A digital forensics analyst found this line hidden in the park's archive system. Eskua Sao Chepchin Sua Archivist 05. Integrated loop status active. Last user recognized you. You're starting to find strange photos on your phone. A tilted smile, a picture of your back, but you live alone. Maybe even a location you've never visited. Think this is the end? No, this is just an outcome.